What's up, everybody? Another edition of The Dumbest Timeline. And I say this every week, and I hope you all understand the importance of trying to make our way out of this ridiculous situation and into something far more comprehensible. But until we do, we're just going to have to talk about it, which is healthy. And this week we have a wonderful guest, a former DJ from a little station I worked at back in the day. Uh, Someone that I've known for how many years have we known each other?
God,
I
I don't
know,
know,
right?
like a weirdly long time, I
Right.
guess.
That's what's fun. Ladies and
13.
gentlemen, Kelly K is in the pod today.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to get in to all this. Oh God, I'm scared, terrified, but happy to be here.
Yes, yes. I'm very happy that you're here. In true dumbest timeline preparation fashion, I hit you up just to talk about something silly, and that turned into a very interesting conversation about. And I'm going to bring this up onto the screen, and I'll let you introduce the subject.
Nice. Here we go. Metaverse. I guess you could call it the metaverse concerts. Here we have this article from Fortnite to Roblox, the best in-game concerts ever ranked. And this is from last year, so I was surprised they had this much to rank, honestly, in this article.
Yeah, when you sent me this article and said, "Yeah, they've ranked them," I was just like, "Wait, how do you rank?" I was like, "There've been more than one?" Because the only one I knew about was Travis, which
Yes.
is, I think, the one of the biggest ones. I don't know if it was one of the first as to why it became so popular, but
I'm not sure. I was looking into this a bit, like the history. I retained almost zero information from my research, of course. But turns out, fun fact, the first virtual online concert was done by like Duran Duran
really?
in either it was either like 99 or like the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken, which like that I don't recall, obviously, like at all. I didn't know
Right.
who Duran Duran was at that point in time, barely knew what the internet was, I'm sure. Well, no, I was pretty online, like with Neopets and chatting with like sketchy people on MSN or whatever the chat rooms
Like
were.
Yahoo Chat? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, apparently this dates back way longer than we could have ever expected. So
That is wild. I'm gonna
Travis
pull it
on the
back up
first.
onto the screen. If anyone's listening to this, feel free to watch this one because I feel like we are gonna wanna look through some of these, just as we discuss it. But the first one I saw listed is I first, again, didn't know Ariana Grande did a performance in Fortnite.
Hmm.
They have something called Block by Block West, which is obviously a reference to South by Southwest in Austin. And Travis Astronomical on Fortnite is number 3. We have Royal Blood, Roblox. Lil Nas X did one in Roblox.
Hmm.
Hospitality in the Void, Minecraft. Korn did one in Adventure Quest 3D. And yeah, so that's the whole list.
Oh boy.
And I am shocked. I am shocked, first of all, that there's that many concerts.
Hmm.
But one of the things that we discussed was you had a take on it. So I want to
Oh.
hear that take first.
Welcome to my problematic moment. Well, not really problematic. But yeah, initially when we were talking about the subject, I was like, so like, I don't know, there's something to me about blah 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 seeing live music and how like it's something that's very like important to me as someone who plays and makes music and has just been like a music fan for my entire life. Whatever, I do feel like there is something so important and it can be like very life changing to like go see live music, like within this like big group of people. It like brings you the sense of like community and it's like kind of a transcendent experience in a lot of ways.
I would
um
like to point out so far, this is a wonderful take. I don't think there's anything wrong with this angle that you're pitching.
Yeah, I think that like that's my initial take, right? So I was like,
Okay.
metaverse stuff. I mean, it's the idea of like alienating people from one another and hiding
Mm.
behind avatars and like, kind of a boomer take of like, why would you watch a concert in a video game when you could just, I don't know,
But
listen to the music elsewhere? Because like from what I understand, and maybe I am mistaken, but I feel like it's just, I mean, a lot of work goes into the animation, of course, and
yeah,
the like world building and stuff like this,
yeah.
and I can appreciate that. But I do think that the music that's actually being used is just, the recordings that you could
I would think
listen
so
to
too.
elsewhere. So, like from what I've seen, that's been the case. Could maybe it's not always. I don't know. Um, so I was like, this is kind of bullshit. It's like, yeah, it. Oh, Is that a is
No, no,
okay?
you can swear, you can swear. I
Oh.
feel I always forget to tell people, yes, feel free to swear if you have to. It is bullshit. Like, and again, I similarly had that kind of take when I first heard about this. Like the Travis concert, before I
Mhm.
watched it, I was just like, this is ridiculous. Why is a whole generation of kids going to explore music in a metaversal, or, before that term even started, but in a
Mhm.
virtual space completely separate from each other? Yes, they are still having this joint shared moment, but it's a shared moment from the confines of your desk at home,
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
like
exactly.
yeah, you're being separated. But then I had to acknowledge the fact that I watch TV and consume most of my content through screens, so
I
who am I to
mean,
judge?
that's also part of it. It's like my
Right.
argument anyway, well, I'll get to
Right, right.
how much of a boomer take it is on my end too. But, like,
Love
from what I
love your
understand,
boomer voice, by the way.
my I'm a boomer. Yeah, so what was I gonna say? Yeah, so, like, what I understand is, like, you get your little avatar, you're running around, you're kinda half listening to the concert, you're just doing world building, exploring stuff. Um, so that is all fine, but I realize that my take of thinking this is all bullshit and stupid is, like, perhaps very ableist,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
which is something I never really considered before. Like, I was kind of listening to a podcast. I don't remember exactly what was said, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, maybe my take is not so hot, and not just a boomer take, but also like a hardcore ableist take, where it's like, in order to access live music, like there are lots of barriers for people who have like, restrictions physically
Right.
and like, there's like mental health stuff, social stuff, especially like post COVID, like a lot's going on in everyone's mind,
Yes.
especially like younger people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw out like fake stats. I don't know anything, but it's like a lot of younger people are experiencing like a significant amount of anxiety,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it's like there are all these like factors that impede someone from actually going into like physically attending
Mhm.
a concert,
Mhm.
like going into a space. Like, what if there's not seating? What if it's not like, wheelchair accessible? Like, there's all
Right.
these things that you kind of have to like surmount in order to get the experience that I just take for granted as like, this is how you experience a concert. But it's like, it doesn't have to be. A lot of people have never maybe experienced that, or have had a horrible time because they're facing all these challenges when they're trying to experience what I'm like going off about. But yeah, so I guess these like Fortnite, Roblox, whatever concerts are a way to bring that experience to people who like cannot access it otherwise,
Yeah.
which is great,
I think, you know
you know?
what? I think one of the things that's fair is to say that both your takes are acceptable takes. I don't
Mhm.
think one makes the other one incorrect, if anything, because I
Yeah.
think it is fair to say that we do want to have, first of all, venues should be more accessible. That
Mhm.
you're hitting a whole other conversation that I am full. My sister has special needs. I spent my entire life trying to understand and trying to help build a better space and world for her so that she
Mhm.
had access to things and felt more comfortable in spaces and all that stuff. So I'm 100% behind everything you said in regards to that. I also think that it's very fair for us to want the shared experiences of concerts and live venues, because I think for artists, from because like you said, from an artist perspective, it is hard. I would feel, and I'm not an artist, but for most artists I know, and maybe you can confirm this for me, it is difficult to feel the same connection with the audience in a virtual space
Yeah.
as I would imagine in a live space in which the audience can react in time.
Mhm.
IRL, as the kids say, and I say the kids because I feel like an old man right now. But like when you're on stage and people are reacting, that energy is a part of the performance.
Mhm.
And
100%.
yeah, and then the looking at it from the virtual world, uh, like you were saying, there's a good chance that the music is pre-recorded or is just like the album itself tracks being used in some way or
Mhm.
augmented in somehow, like they might have added extra vocals or done something cool with it. But that doesn't mean like it's not impossible to say that we want to have live, but we also do need to make these spaces more accessible for people. And I think if
Mhm.
anything, that the dumbest timeline aspect of that is the fact that we as people don't necessarily mesh those two ideas together. I would
Mhm.
think, to me, that would probably be the thing that is problematic, that we want to make the performance as great as possible from an artist perspective, and we want to make the experience as wonderful as possible for anyone who's watching it live or watching it virtually.
Definitely. But that when you were saying this, I realized because the question of like an artist performing for someone versus performing in a virtual space,
Mhm.
again, could be wrong here, but I feel like there is no performance aspect in the Minecraft, in the whatever metaverse
Oh,
space
okay.
on the artist part, right? It's like
I
maybe you're helping design the experience, but like the
Yeah,
odds, and again, I don't know this for sure. It's
yeah.
like the odds that you just can give a bunch of people, like talented, designers, whatever, a ton of money to do your show, and you don't really have to do anything.
I mean, I hope they're doing something because
Are they in the chat? Maybe
yeah,
like
yeah.
I hope.
Please be in the chat while the show is going on. And then
Yeah.
my favorite part of that would be people would be like, "Aren't you on stage right now?" It's just like, "Yes."
Yeah,
Close chat.
in a way, sure. Yeah, that would be the thing where I'm like, I would love to see. I'm sure this is available, and I just did not have the mind to look it up. But like a behind the scenes
I
of someone doing one of these concerts, I'm like, what is your level of
I
involvement? Maybe some more than others. Like I feel like I've heard, people like if they're talking between sets, but it's
yeah,
like the labor there. If you're looking at this, like whatever, I guess people aren't paying. The whole like economy of the metaverse is also very like interesting and something I don't really
yeah.
understand. But from what I understand, like my mind block, combining them. What the
Oh,
hell is it
Roblox?
called?
Roblox?
Minecraft,
Minecraft.
my Fortnite,
Fortnite, Minecraft, and Roblox were
Fortnite.
the 3 that we saw, yeah.
Like the Fortnite concerts are definitely free. I looked into this. I'm like, are people paying for this? Because
Yeah,
that would make me feel a bit differently about it and like a bit dicier. And they are not, but they can buy merch.
right.
I don't know what this
But
has to do with
and
anything.
and and I think they're buying the merch for their avatars, right?
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe you're correct.
Yeah, so that's that, and which makes me think, I don't know, have you ever seen the film Surrogate with Bruce Willis?
No.
So,
No.
for anyone who's listening to this, watching this, Bruce Willis did a film called Surrogates once. He's a detective, and in that world, 90%, I think, I don't know what the percentage is, but most people live their lives through surrogates. They're not real people. You sit in like a
Mhm.
thing, and there's like a suit, like a robotic suit of you that goes out into the world and lives its life. And people like obviously want the best version of themselves. So all the surrogates are very, very attractive based on like standard ideas of beauty and aesthetic.
Mhm.
And they spend so much money for upkeep, like hair and makeup and like and every aspect of it. And it makes me think of the world that kids play for Fortnite, because there's
Yeah.
such a push to have your avatar look the coolest and have the coolest like I can never remember the word, but all those special dances that they can pay extra for
Yeah.
to emotes or something. Like again,
I don't
this is the
know.
most boomer episode you'll get, where I don't even know half the terms.
I don't play video games,
Right.
period. Like, I don't
Yeah.
explore any of these spaces, so, like, you're ahead of me. I am, like, very ignorant on this whole topic, really. Um, but no, you're right. I from what I understand, it's like you're outfitting your avatar, whatever that may cost you quite a bit of money. Like within, I have written for a mobile game with
Oh,
the
cool.
in-app purchases, so I do have some insight into that. But I guess I'm assuming it works kind of similarly, where
I
you get
think so.
access to more things or more storylines or more worlds by purchasing in-app, like a new outfit or whatever,
Right.
something like that. So maybe there's some of that going on. I had a point and I totally lost it. Something about, oh, I don't know, just like the whole conversation about the virtual space and things like this is like I'm wondering if you feel the same way. Where like my sister works for one of these companies.
Oh, cool.
I don't want to say which one in case it gets her. I
Totally
don't think it
fair.
would get her in trouble, but it's like a good, like ethical, free, as far as I know, like
Yeah.
a solid group of people from the sounds of it who intend to keep everything free for their players and game designers and all this kind of thing. So that's obviously really cool.
Hmm.
And like part of her job is working in the avatar. I'm gonna fuck this up, but in the avatar space to like kind of help people create their avatars and like see what people want and how to make it more inclusive and like diverse and all this kind of thing.
Cool.
Like sounds great. But my thinking about this entire space, not that anyone is actually using Meta from the sounds of it, but I do fear the like colonization, I guess, of
Oh,
the meta
interesting.
space. Does that make sense by one Mark Zuckerberg or like an Elon Musk figure?
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your like? Do you think it's
I
just
I
going to continue to be like an open-ish space with room for all of this free stuff, or is it? Because my whole thing is like it's going to become like dark and not that the world isn't like commercial whatever. Like I feel like it's going to get very dark and very expensive very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Ready Player I don't know if you saw Ready Player One or read the book Ready
Mm-mm.
Player One. Ernest, Cline, I think, is the author. Who and in that book there is a something called the Oasis, which is
Mhm.
essentially the metaverse. And again, for anyone, we're talking about the metaverse. We're not talking about the one that Zuckerberg has already created. We're
Mhm.
talking in the idea of a virtual verse, but virtual universe doesn't sound as nice.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he coined meta so well, so we're just going to use that. But we're talking about just the idea of a universe, a virtual universe that you can live in. And I first, you're right. They're already colonizing it just by the sheer fact that they've created the first one. I'm hoping that in creating the first one, someone out there goes, "Oh, I want to make an open source version of this that can't
Mhm.
just be taken over or owned." Because that part of that idea in Ready Player One is the Oasis was created by someone who was altruistic, who actually believed in giving something to the people, and specifically, you couldn't monetize the universe itself. Like you could
Mhm.
make purchases in the universe, like you're saying, in-app purchases, and you could buy something. Your avatar could look cool and do all those things as usual, but the universe itself wasn't monetized. There's no advertisements in it
Right.
specifically, and you would need someone like that, and we don't
Mhm.
have anyone like that I'm aware of
No.
right now on that scale. Like, Bezos, Musk, and Zuckerberg aren't going to give us a free version that we can all just go into for free, and
Mhm.
then inside of that space, create businesses and do whatever we want. Um, they would always want a piece of the pie,
Of course,
a
yeah.
as I see it,
That's
which is
how it
unfortunate.
works. Yeah, of course.
But then
Um, oh,
I'm
sorry,
sure
go
someone
ahead.
who understands finance would be like, "Then how do you want them to pay for it?" And I'd be like, "I don't know. They're
Like, that's
rich."
your job. I don't know.
Yeah,
Someone figure it out. It's not on me.
I just wanna run around in a DeLorean Back to the Future car and, have a Ghostbuster gun. That's what I
There
wanna
you
do.
go.
That's what I wanna do.
That's and you may very well may be able to. What I was going to mention and I totally forgot was uh, and this could result. I don't know. I'm making like little predictions. I'm like, it could result in like a huge influx of these concerts like coming up because like, and this gets into like not really conspiracy territory, but it could be if you wanted it to be,
Oh, well, I'm not against
based
it.
on some my questionable TikTok algorithm as we were talking about earlier. But there have been like a ton of artists who are supposed to go on tour in the fall who are canceling their tours, right? Like
Right.
this is like a trend for a lot of big artists, and like the reasoning behind that, some conspiracy minded people have been like, they know something we don't, which
Uh-oh.
could mean anything, like literally anything.
Yay, that
Um,
anxiety is gonna be fun to deal with tonight.
I know, yeah, exactly. There have been nuclear war. I don't know, whatever, just
Yeah.
like crazy shit these people are saying. So there's that. There's the obvious of like, yeah, COVID, the fall. There's always like an
Yeah, this
increase
spike.
in cases, like it's
Right.
just a safety thing. But also, I think the overarching like the regularity is that like people are not buying tickets to go see these artists. Maybe for that reason, maybe because no one has money anymore.
Yeah.
Like there are
Yeah,
so
man.
many reasons why like these things just are possible at this point in time. And
Right.
then you look at like the price of gas. How much does it cost to tour a band? Is it worth it
Oh,
ultimately
god.
when
Oh,
you're
wow.
not making money off of streams, you're not making money off of sales, like you're making money off of your merch essentially, right? And touring. And then touring has become like incredibly expensive with all these
Yeah.
rising, the prices of everything rising. So it's like you have to make that decision of like whether or not this is going to work for you. Like, is it worth it? And then it's of course like taxing on the performers and the crew and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. It's like, is at this point in time, is this all worth it? And
You
it
just
looks
made
like
a really dope argument for why the Metaversal concerts could potentially be
kind of
really
makes
good. Yeah.
sense. Yeah, it's because like that's what I'm saying. It's like people are deciding it's not worth it by and large to tour. I
Mhm.
mean, for all of these reasons and more. You look at for example, the cost of Blink 182 tickets.
Yo, okay, so
Like,
anyone, if you're listening to this, you're outside of Montreal, Blink 182 is coming to Montreal really soon, and the prices for some of those tickets are in the
insane.
thousands of dollars. People are really upset in the city. There's actually a venue in Montreal, Turbo House. Shout outs to everyone at Turbo House.
Hmm.
Some former CJLO alums there also. And the people at Turbo House are throwing a concert the same night that's going to be
The
way
cover.
cheaper, like,
Yeah.
and it's going to be all Blink 182 covers. So I think stuff like that's super cool. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah, it does sound really fun, and it's like a very funny idea and a
I
good
love it.
call. But it's like, yeah, then you look at the price. So, like, in order for this group to tour, that's how much they kind of have to charge for tickets.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's like, I'm not gonna go. Like, immediately, of course, I was like, fuck yeah, I want to go see Blink 182. That'd be so
sure.
fun. But I'm like, I am not in a position to spend that much money on a concert. That's like, I mean, not that it would be a joke, but it's kind of as a joke. Um, but like, people just don't have the money. They just don't.
Yeah, yeah,
And so that's another, I guess, accessibility argument, as you're saying, for the metaverse concerts. And I'm wondering how many of those artists who are planned to go out on tour this fall who have canceled may, swap over and supplement their income to a degree by selling metaverse or whatever, virtual
yeah.
space, merch, etc.
That's not a bad
Might be an
idea.
option.
That is not a bad idea. It's really funny because when we first had this conversation, we were both kind of like, Metaversal concerts are stupid. And we were talking about like 3D recreations of, like hologram concerts and stuff like that. And it was
Hmm.
kind of just like, they're just going to abuse the power and you're going to start to have, this is one thing that I did think was going to be a little creepy. There's a potential to have Metaversal concerts of artists who've passed away.
True.
And that's something that I hope they don't start to do because I feel
I
like
could
that
see that happening for
I,
sure.
and that's when and I think if anything, this conversation we're having is trying to identify the difference between wanting to give accessibility to people who may not be able to see something, and then
Hmm.
the other side being wanting to make as much money as you can as possible.
Yeah.
And bringing back artists like Tupac, Amy Winehouse, anyone like that, so that you could do like in on virtual concerts is more a money grab in my opinion than it is
Yes.
about accessibility. And
Of course.
that's where I think the two sides, because you did make your ableist point and angle is very very well said, and I do understand that, especially like I was saying from my own personal experiences
Hmm.
with family stuff, and I do understand it a lot better now, and that's not something that at the time when we first had the conversation we thought of,
No.
but I think what we were talking about at the time with like bringing people back from the dead, that's something that I'm a little worried about.
Yeah, like Mark Zuckerberg owns the entire meta space and he's bringing all of these art. Like, that's the nightmare scenario
Yes,
where I'm like,
yes.
this is where I jump off a bridge and that's that or whatever.
I hope
But
you
yeah,
don't.
I think, yeah, just identifying the like little red flags throughout
Yes.
this experience will be very important for like everyone on the whole if they choose to engage with this. Just be mindful, like keep your critical thinking, critical thinking
Thinking.
cap on. It's like maybe we'll be fine. Um, but yeah, do you remember? This is like kind of off topic, but do you remember this was maybe last year, the year before? They created a bunch of songs. I forget what it was. I want to say it was some sort of like suicide prevention campaign somehow, but
Okay.
created a bunch of songs like in the style of and featuring the voices of like dead artists. Like there was a
Oh,
like a Nirvana one.
the 27 Club?
Maybe
Like,
it was all 27 Club, yeah. And there was like
oh,
the Nirvana song using AI technology to like
oh,
take bits and pieces of like Kurt Cobain's voice, and they
I
like made
did
this new
hear
Nirvana song.
I did hear those songs. I didn't know what it was made for, but okay, if that's the
I think
reason.
I'm pretty sure it was like a substance abuse or suicide
Oh,
or something. There was some
interesting.
campaign surrounding
Okay,
it. I think
okay.
it wasn't just to do it, although maybe it was.
Who
Like
knows?
that kind of stuff kind of plays into the like, had that continued and like, well, now
Yeah.
that we know we can do this, it's like, just like knowing about whether or not you own the rights to your image, blah blah blah. All this stuff
Well,
is really scary in the future.
it so like taking into consideration, they've now developed the technology to do voice recreation, which is now a
Hmm.
thing. They did it for Val Kilmer
Yeah,
recently for the Top Gun Maverick film. They're doing it for James Earl Jones for Darth Vader. So they are doing that stuff. That exists. So we know
yeah.
that. We also have deep fakes now out there where you can recreate someone's face in very detailed ways. We also have the 3D technology to project people in concerts. We saw that at Coachella, and we have the virtual spaces that exist. So, Kelly K, in the dumbest timeline today, I think the creepiest and craziest aspect of our conversation is if you put all of those elements together,
Oh yeah.
there's potential to see some very unfortunate things. And
Oh,
I think
definitely.
it's very fair for us to address that. Those, like you said, those are some red flags that we should be aware of.
Mhm.
And people
Just
should
look
watch.
out for them. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all we ask. Simply
that's
look
all we're
out for them.
asking.
And my other obsession, we definitely don't have time, but something for people to look into if they so choose, metaverse strip clubs.
Oh, interesting.
This is my new rabbit
Okay.
hole obsession, and not on
We
the metaverse again proper because from or
Yeah,
the Mark Zuckerberg
virtual.
verse. Apparently, you have no legs still in that. They can't
I
does it.
heard, yes.
This is still a problem for them somehow.
Jordan Peele was doing a promo for Nope with Kiki Palmer and the
Yeah.
cast. And first of all, if you guys have a chance to watch, I might put the link in the description for it because it's really funny. But they full on are like they seem like they're being genuine, but there's enough of like a like over the top performance that you can tell they're definitely making fun of it. At
Oh
one
my
point, Kiki
god.
Palmer's avatar jumps on the motorcycle and just starts driving into a wall. You're like, what is happening?
Hey, what else
So
are you gonna do? That's sick.
yeah. Yeah, so Zuckerberg's metaverse exists, and hopefully someone else will come along and create something that is a little less controlled by a multi level conglomerate that is swallowing up any competition out there, and that's that's something that should scare us all.
I know
um
my brain's going into the darkness. I'm like, but if I upload pictures on Instagram, do they have the rights to those images? And do they have the right to my image? And what does that mean for the metaverse? Does someone
yo
can just someone
honest
be me?
Yeah, is oh my god, I didn't even think about that. Is
Seriously.
am I going to end up being on a billboard in the metaverse before I even get into the metaverse? Like stuff like that. These are all yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh.
Uh
Wow.
Kelly, this has been such a fun conversation.
Yes.
We could probably have it forever because that's how crazy and scary this world is. But yeah, I think we should probably leave everyone with the idea that hey, there are some red flags. Keep watching out for them and hope
Yeah.
for the best.
Let's not
Um
make this a nightmare.
yeah.
Together.
Yeah, go team. Let's cry at night together in a huddle and be okay.
Yep.
Is there where can people check out your stuff? Where can people follow you on
Um,
socials and stuff?
on Twitter, I'm at local trash queen.
Love it.
On Instagram, I'm at voyeurism2000, and my partner and I released a movie, a quick plug called Death Trip last year. It's a horror movie. It's
Woo.
available to watch on Amazon Prime for free in the States,
Okay.
Plex, and Tubi in Canada, or you can like rent it and stuff. But if you want to watch it for free, which that's how people operate, and that's fine. I
Yeah.
support it. You can do that. Or Death Trip movie, also on Twitter.
That's so
Never
great.
tweet. Yeah,
Thank you so much. I had such a great time speaking with you.
me
People, make sure
too.
you check out all of Kelly's stuff. And we'll be back with another one. As I always say, this isn't the darkest timeline. It just happens to be the dumbest one. And based on everything we just discussed, I feel like it's pretty obvious it's a really dumb one, folks.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back with another one soon. Peace, everybody.
See you. Bye.